Okay, welcome to part 3 of day 6. So I'm just going to write what we put on our ticker, 6 hundredths, 6 hundredths. I'm also going to write 6% because per means out of and cent means 100. So 6% means 6 out of 100, same thing as this. And then I have 6 hundredths. And another way of looking at a fraction understanding is I have a whole that's been cut up into 100 pieces, and I have 6 of them. 6 out of 100, or 6 hundredths. So I'm just going to show you something very quickly. I'm going to take a number. I'll just take, since we're working with 6, I'm just going to take plain old 6. And I'm going to multiply it by 100. 6 times 0 is 0, 6 times 0 is 0, and 6 times 1 is 6. What if I was multiplying it by 1,000? Yeah, I'd be adding a 0. This is pretty much understood in 5th grade, that as many zeros in expanded form that I have, when we're multiplying, I can add those zeros. But am I really adding zeros? I sometimes get frustrated when I hear kids say, oh, I'm adding a 0. There's no adding a 0. You're not adding a 0. Let me explain. If I had 6.0, let's put the decimal point in there, because a couple days ago we went over that if a number doesn't have a decimal point, it goes at the end. Remember? Scat? So now let's do the same thing. I have 6.0 and I'm multiplying it times 100. 0 times 0 is 0. I do my placeholder. 6 times 0 is 0. 6 times 0 is 0. And 6 times 1 is 6. And how many decimal points is the 1 over here? It's 1 place value over. So I move it 1 place value over in my answer. Now look at this. 600 versus 60. Now, kids of old, back 5-10 years ago, before we did calendar math and we did Common Core, we would say, oh, we added a 0, but we're not adding a 0. What are we doing? Is we are moving the decimal place over by a power of 10. Do you see that? Now this is important when we're doing this, because later on, when we get into numbers that are not with a 0, it's going to be the next level up of your understanding. Let me do one more so you can see. And I want you to concentrate what's happening to the decimal point. I will do 4.2, and I'm going to multiply it times 100. 2 times 0 is 0, 2 times 0 is 0, and 2 times 1 is 2. And then I'm going to put my placeholder, because I'm not multiplying by 40, because we're ignoring the decimal point right here when we're multiplying. I'm not multiplying by 4, I'm multiplying by 40. So in order to make sure I'm multiplying by 40, I put my placeholder. And my placeholder will take place of the 1's place value. Now when I'm multiplying this 4, I can just say it's 4 because it's going to be put in the 10's place value. So 4 times 0 is 0, 4 times 0 is 0, and 4 times 1 is 4. Add these up. And then I know I start looking at my decimal point and I realize that it is 1 place to the left of the whole. So in my answer, I have to place the decimal point 1 place. Now look at this. I'm going to erase this so I can see what it was originally. I had 4.2, and now I have 420. Now for the novice math person, they might say, oh, you added a 0. Well, the reason I had to add a 0 is because I moved the decimal point. Keep that in mind. I think that's enough for today before our brains go haywire. But I want you to start getting into your understanding that when you're multiplying and dividing by powers of 10, you are moving the decimal point over. to the right and to the left, depending whether you're multiplying or dividing. And in order to hold those, you have to add a 0 sometimes. Tomorrow we'll go over where you don't have to add a 0, and that's why it's important that you understand this concept that it's not adding a 0, but that it's moving the decimal point. And that we will work on tomorrow.